Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn, Kathryn Newton, Alan Ruck, and directed by Christopher Landon, the exact same director who gave us the Happy Death Day films. And similar to Happy Death Day's combination of horror with a sci-fi twist, this offers us horror with a comedy twist, especially considering that it takes its premise wholeheartedly from Freaky Friday, and has a high school girl switch bodies with a serial killer, to both hilarious and gory results. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is about Millie. Millie Kessler, played by Kathryn Newton, is a normal high school girl who's looking forward to her homecoming dance. But when the local legend serial killer, the Blissfield Butcher, ends up stabbing her with an ancient dagger, both of them end up switching bodies, and turns out Millie is now in the serial killer's body and the serial killer is in her body. So Millie has to figure out a way to get her body back while the serial killer is able to discreetly go around town killing innocents, and also various people that have bothered Kessler or have bullied her throughout the time of the film. So this film happens to essentially combine a lot of horror and comedy tropes and manages to make it not only very funny, but also surprisingly very gory, even for an R-rated film of its type. I think my favorite performance of the film is easily Vince Vaughn. I know a lot of people love to make fun of him for his film choices, particularly the remake of Psycho, but Vince Vaughn is perfectly capable of playing not only a creepy serial killer, but also a teenage girl in a grown man's body. There's a lot of comedy that can be milked out of that scenario, just like for the Freaky Friday films, when they have a teenage girl in a grown woman's body. It definitely has a lot of ways that Vince Vaughn can play against type and actually manage to make an entertaining performance out of this bizarre concept. But Kathryn Newton also gets to play against type, as she gets to be the psychotic serial killer for the majority of the film. And it's pretty funny to see her go from wide-eyed and innocent type to full-blown psychopath when the bodies are switched. Plus, the film happens to be pretty self-aware of various horror tropes, such as the black person dies first, how gay people usually act in cliche-written films, etc. And the film never really feels like it takes itself that seriously, even with the gory deaths. So when it comes to a more self-aware kind of horror film, such as the Scream movies, this definitely has a similar type of tone to it. And, especially since this comes from the Happy Death Day director, of course the dialogue happens to be quite quotable, and the characters happen to be quite likable, mainly because of how they not only play with pre-established character types, but they're great versions of said types. Jessica Roth made it work in the Happy Death Day films, and you bet that Kathryn Newton makes it work here. Heck, even Alan Ruck, who you might remember from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, plays a teacher here, and he's actually pretty hilarious too. Almost like he never skipped a beat, despite the fact that the last film I remember him from was in the only film that I liked Matthew Broderick in. However, there are a few issues with the film that keep it from reaching the same lofty heights as the first Happy Death Day for me. One of the first one is that there are some clunky bits of dialogue, particularly from Millie's mother, that just feel like they're forcing in exposition that could have been delivered more naturally. That, along with the fact that the film happens to, while it absolutely excels with both the comedy and the gory kills, it does feel like there are certain things that really break the suspension of disbelief, such as Kathryn Newton somehow ending up being bullied in the past when it comes to the film, and yet somehow, just because she puts on a jacket and a bit of makeup, everyone thinks she's the hottest person alive. It's still Kathryn Newton. She still looks absolutely adorable. That really doesn't feel like that should happen. So, a few things like that do break some of the logic of the film, and do come across as more distracting than helping. But despite that, Freaky happens to be essentially another good horror film with a twist from Christopher Landon, and I do hope he happens to keep coming up with ideas like this. Which is why I'm going to give Freaky an 8 out of 10. See you next time.